The Fancounters.
Welcome to Fancounters. My name's Nick.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And you can follow us on Twitter at Fancounters Live. Please go follow our page and you'll get a lot of great updates. You can also join our group, our private group at Facebook. It's Sharpie Nation. Just search Sharpie Nation. It's like autograph seeking, right? On Facebook, and we'll preview for that group. And then lastly, still got these cups we're giving out. I'm going to promote the crap out of it every week until we sell out of these things because they're taking up room in my basement. So go to patreon.com/fancounters. And if you donate $20, we will send you your very own Fancounters water bottle with the reusable straw. So, Elizabeth, have you gone on the United Postal Service website and registered to get your mail scanned to you every morning?
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Why would I need to have my mail scanned to me every day?
Folks, every morning about 9 o'clock or so, I get an email from the USPS, and they have scanned images of every piece of mail that's coming to my mailbox. It's handy because they also tell me if a box is coming to my mail, and then I'll know that something's going to be sat at the front door.
Can't you just be surprised like the rest of us?
No, because if you don't get something that they scan you, you'll know that your mail's been tampered with.
Are you afraid your mail is going to be tampered with?
No, but it's really fun to know what's coming. It's like unboxing a birthday present before you get it.
Yeah, I'd rather go to the mailbox and have that super surprise about opening the mailbox and getting to see the mail. This is just weird.
I like it. It's very handy. So if you want this, you can go to the United Postal Service website and sign up, and you too can have scanned images of your mail sent to your email for free.
It's just a waste of space on my phone.
It's free.
Yeah, just because it's free doesn't mean you should do it.
I think we should do it.
I don't think you should.
Folks, you should do it. It's super cool.
It's very weird.
Let's get to today's show. Now, Elizabeth, you were absent yesterday.
I was.
And I did this interview yesterday without you, and I was sad. But today on the show, we're going to be talking with one of the most successful bowlers in America. You know what the PBA is, right, Elizabeth?
The Professional Bowling Association?
Yes. Guppy Troup is part of that organization, and he has 13 300 games.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I think I've maybe made it over 200 a handful of times. He's also got 3 PBA Standard Titles. Since joining the PBA in 2015, he's also achieved 10 regional PBA titles. He's very flashy on the lanes, and you would recognize him right away. He has very colorful outfits. He's a white guy with a huge afro.
Oh.
Yeah. He used to manage Wendy's restaurants while he was working up his ranks in the PBA.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bowling is Kyle's passion, and he has recently won the 2018 Men's U.S. Team Trials to earn his first Team USA berth. Kyle is successfully following in his dad's footsteps as his father, Guppy Troup, is an 8-time PBA Tour winner.
Now, Guppy's pretty sweet, too, because I think Kyle got his fashion from his dad. His dad would have green pant leg on one side, yellow pant leg on the other.
Oh.
So he was having the multicolored jean look going on.
Okay.
So, yeah. Now, if you think you can't make a living as a bowler, think again. Kyle has amassed an average of $50,000 in winnings per year over the last 4 years, and I think this year he's going to go way above that. And that was just average because he just started in the PBA 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
So anyway, guys, here we go. We got Guppy Troup on the show. It's all him for the next 40 minutes or so.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fancounters with Nick and Elizabeth on the PodFix network.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours.
If I'm having dinner with my wife, don't sit down at my table. Don't follow me into the bathroom.
Can I take a picture? We're going to, oh my God.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
I'm the only one that's ever been on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
Well, guess what? I have a big surprise for you.
That's why we call it Fancounters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
Kyle, welcome to Fancounters. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thanks for joining us. Now, I was introduced to you by my cousin. Now, she has a young son. His name's Troy. He's a bowler, and he really admires you, and he wants to be just like you one day. So finding out that you had so many young fans looking up to you and knowing my audience the way I do, I know that this is going to be kind of a special interview, so I'm glad you're here.
Great.
I mentioned in the opening of the show that you have followed in your dad's footsteps, Guppy. Did he push you in this direction, or did his passion naturally rub off on you?
Just growing up, traveling with him so much, growing up in a bowling center, I really, I wanted to be like him. He really didn't push bowling on me. It kind of just happened naturally. I was always wanting to go with him anytime I could. And growing up, running around, playing video games and trying to bowl anytime I could. I guess over the years, it just really stuck with me. And kept looking up to Guppy all the time. And so that's why I kind of wanted to be a professional bowler.
Was your talent sort of natural even from the beginning?
I would have to say probably so, especially being, I'm a two-handed bowler, and I started bowling two-handed because my father gave me a heavy bowling ball at a young age, and I just naturally developed it. And, it's pretty much self-taught because Guppy was one of the straightest players on tour, and however, was not. So it's kind of funny how that worked out.
Is it right? You had a 10-pound bowling ball as a 5-year-old?
That's what I've been told. Obviously I don't really recall that personally, but that's what he says, because he said I was always whining, wanting to throw his ball. So that's kind of how I got started with the heavy ball.
Did you ever consider, now, because you mentioned you're a two-handed bowler, did you ever consider just throwing one hand?
I recall switching for a few months. I was probably 13 years old or so, and that was probably one of the worst decisions I'd ever made. And I went back to two-handed because I might have had less rev rate than Guppy did with one hand. So I was like, no, we're going to stick with two hands.
Now, your PBA career started at the age of 24. How does one even get involved in the PBA? Like, what steps do you have to take to master your bowling skills to prove that you belong?
Yeah, the PBA is quite difficult. I started bowling regionals actually whenever I was like 16. So I had an early start on like the regional tour, and I've seen some early success. I won a few regional titles at a young age, and it can be quite difficult, but you always want to start with like your local tournaments and whatnot, and then work your way up to like the regional tour. And then once I've seen success on the regional tour for quite some time, then I felt like it was time to take the next step in my game and start bowling on the national tour. And it's all a learning process, and you have to look at it that way. Can't just go in expecting to do good and not really get your face beat in once or twice, because it's going to happen to everybody. And as long as you're willing to, accept the learning curve and try and learn all that you can every time, then you could see some success in the PBA.
What is the average that you would need to get into the PBA?
I believe to join the PBA, you have to average 200 in league for 2 years.
Okay.
I believe. And that, or if you bowl a regional or a national stop as a non-member and you cash, then you're able to join the PBA. So there's a few different ways to get in.
Okay. And once you join, now do you immediately start going out on national tours, or are you staying locally for a while? What did your journey look like?
I joined the PBA when I was 16, and I bowled regionals for quite some time. I don't believe I bowled my first national stop for probably 4 or 5 years, just because I knew, like, at the younger age, like, all I was really good at was throwing it hard and straight, and that only matched up every now and then on tour. So, I definitely stayed on the regional tour for several years.
Now, regional would be your North Carolina area?
In the South region, yes. The country's broken up into, like, 7 different regions. So it was anywhere from like Virginia down to Florida. And, we had national tour stars bowling the regional tour then. So that was a good stepping stone to get a taste of some of the national competition and, really to see how good these pros were. And it was a great, learning curve for me and a stepping stone up to the national tour.
Now, are you traveling by your own car to these places? Do they send you in an airplane? I mean, how does that all work logistically?
Yeah, the bowlers, we have our own travel arrangements, whatever it may be. And I'm on tour right now for the 3-month swing with the new Fox tour, and I'm driving the whole thing just because it's more convenient. I don't have to worry about renting cars, booking tickets, and all that, and I can bring however many bowling balls I'd like. But, yeah, all the bowlers, they're in charge of their own travel arrangements, whatever it may be, car, plane. I haven't heard of anybody taking a train, but I'm sure that's not I'm sure that's still an option.
Okay. And that's, people are always curious, so I hope the question's not inappropriate, but that's all on your tab, right? Like if you don't have winnings at that tournament, you're sort of like, as far as a business goes, you're taking a loss. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Most bowlers, like some bowlers have a backer, a financial backer, someone that will put the money up, and then, they work out whatever they may on the side. But yeah, I mean, if a bowler doesn't have a financial backer, then normally, we're covering all the expenses ourselves, and so that's what can make it a little difficult too, because it's 2019. It's not really cheap to do anything nowadays.
Right.
But we're lucky with the new Fox Tour and stuff. There's lots of possibilities to make a lot of money this year, so it's a pretty exciting time.
Now, in your first year, you won your first PBA title. So I'm wondering, how unique is it to win a title in your first year, and what do you remember from that day?
Yeah, that was quite a special moment. The PBA it's a little weird how they have it. Like that was probably my first full-time, my first full year on tour. I had bowled some national stops before the Wolf Open, but I just didn't bowl full-time on the national tour. So I guess they consider that my first year. But just to be able to win my first title, it was on a short pattern that I knew if I was going to win at the time, where my game was at, it was going to be on that pattern. And to have my whole family there, it was a dream come true just to make a TV show. Growing up watching my father, seeing all his old bowling shows, that was always a dream of mine. And to be able to win in front of my family is probably one of the most memorable moments of my career. All the hard work, or all the bad bowling that had taken place, all the good bowling that had taken place, it felt like it had all finally paid off, and I had reached a goal of mine in my life.
Awesome. And you'd go on to do that a couple more times. As we work out kind of worked out the schedule with my schedule, it became very obvious that you do a fair amount of traveling. How many, and I'm sure this year is probably going to be more than last year, and next year will be even more, but how many days a year do you usually spend on the road?
I would have, so last year was definitely the most I've ever traveled, because I started bowling pretty much everything that I could internationally as well. So that really added to my schedule. I would have to say I might have been home 100 days out of 365.
Wow.
That would be a guess. Because, I mean, there was months where I was home 4 days in a month, and stuff like that. So it's, but now, granted, I'm choosing to bowl pretty much everything right now, but I'm throwing it good. I feel like I'm at one of the best parts of my career, so I'm swinging for the fences right now.
When you're bowling that much, are there things like injuries that can happen that can sideline you, and has that happened to you?
Yeah, injuries are very possible in the sport. I had an injury a few years ago in my sciatica and lower back area, and that was at a young age. And ever since then, I started hitting the gym a lot, really focusing on fitness as well, because my body is my moneymaker. It's what I do for a living. So I realized, I'm still 27, I'm still young, but been doing it for a long time, and I need to start taking care of my body. So that's something that still keeps me. It also helps me disengage from the bowling after the day, go to the gym or whatnot, and just keeps me in a routine. And I just try and keep my body healthy, because this year is going to be a big test, just going week to week for the first 3 months of the year.
Now, last January, a year ago, you won the Team USA trials, which meant that you got to represent the USA at the World Cup in Las Vegas. That happened in November. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what that international experience was like for you.
Yeah, to win the trials to start 2018 out was an incredible feeling. I had bowled trials a few times before, and going there, I really just wanted to bowl myself on the team. I know they do resume picks, and I didn't send in a resume last year, because I told myself I'm either going to bowl myself on the team or I'm not going to get picked. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to win that, and to represent the USA at the World Cup was something I've never witnessed before. I've bowled internationally, but to see pretty much the best man and woman from, I believe it was 60 different countries, was just something that you would have to witness to believe, and just to see all the talent from around the world. We're here in the United States, and we think we have some of the best bowlers in the world, but really so many people don't even know the amount of competition that is throughout the world. And the World Cup is such a prestigious event because only one person gets to bowl for the men and women. So to be able to represent the United States, it was very prestigious. And just bowling through the whole event, I could see how this has been such an important event. It's such prestige behind it. And, unfortunately, I did not win, which that's going to sting for a while, knowing that I have to win trials again to be able to get back to that tournament. But that's definitely a goal of mine still for my career.
Yeah, in Australia, and Sam Cooley won that tournament, but you made it to the finals. When you lose something like that, obviously it's tough. Do you then attribute that to something like, I didn't get enough sleep, I was rushing myself, or do bad games just happen and that's part of the sport?
Yeah, if I didn't get much sleep or was out partying all night or something like that, then I could blame it on that. But at the World Cup, I was very focused. So I bowled a bad game in the title match.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I led the event from the second game till the 40th game. So, I dominated pretty much the whole week. And, unfortunately, you still have to bowl a good game in the title match. And I caught a couple bad breaks, made some bad shots, and Sam bowled incredible. And, when a guy bowls 260, he deserves to win the title
right.
in the title match. And, just that's how bowling goes sometimes.
That orange shirt that you wore at the World Cup was very tame in comparison to the attire that you are used to sporting on the lanes. So let's talk a little bit about your style for a little bit. Your clothing choices have been described as Partridge Family bus style. Has your wardrobe always been as flashy as it is now?
Yeah, I contribute my wardrobe choices to the troop trait because, my father Guppy brought wild pants into bowling in the 80s. And, it brought some flair to the sport. And growing up, even bowling regionals and stuff, I always had some kind of color in my outfits. And now, I'm known for my outfits just kind of like Guppy was. And it kind of lets me express my personality and, bring some flair to the sport and a little bit of excitement. People get bored every now and then just seeing black and gray all the time. And so, if somebody gets a good kick out of what I'm wearing, or they're wondering, what's Kyle going to come in wearing today, or what's his hair going to be doing today? I kind of got that going as well. But it's something that I took from I carried on from my father. He wore the wild pants. It's a new generation now, but now the jerseys just kind of go along with the pants.
Yeah, he had crazy pants. He would have one leg like green and one yellow. Very odd.
Yeah, I haven't quite split the pants down the middle yet. That was definitely his move.
Now, do those outfits ever distract you as a bowler, or do you think you're distracting opponents with these outfits?
Well, they definitely don't distract me because that's what I'm wearing. That's what I'm
right.
choosing to wear. So, but it might be distracting. Maybe if I'm slapping one out or doing something on the approach and I happen to be, dressed up in 5 different colors. But, for the most part, I don't think it's very distracting to the bowlers because we're all professionals. We're all trying to laser vision onto the lane, really not paying attention to what people are wearing or anything like that.
Do you sort of just stay in your zone and not really pay attention to what the other opponent is doing?
Yeah, that's the best way to be on tour because everybody is so good out here. You really can't worry about what everyone else is doing. You really have to be, really honed in on your own game and your own talent and believe in your ability to throw as many strikes possible every game. And if it's good enough to make the cut or good enough to make the show, well, then you can kind of start looking around, especially if you make the show and, just seeing what kind of competition you're up against. But in the end, it's all about what you do and nobody else can affect that.
So, Kyle, when you go out to the grocery store, are you wearing just as flashy clothes or is this is this style just for the lanes?
Yeah, this is just bowling attire. Probably won't catch me at the grocery store or at a restaurant wearing my bowling outfits unless we're going to eat after bowling.
There you go.
And then that can spark up some odd conversation sometime.
We'll get into that because I want to hear about some of your encounters with your fans. We'll do that in a little bit. But what does it mean to your dad that you have sort of followed in his footsteps?
Yeah, it means so much to him. We always have, we've always had a great relationship, but never been too lovey-dovey or, he's never I know he's very proud. I mean, he's told me that before, but, we've just never been the father-son that gets super close when it comes to all that stuff. But I know just him not being able to really compete professionally anymore, the age kind of caught up with him and whatnot. And so to be able to watch me, and, I always fly him out anytime I make a TV show. I know that means a lot to him, just to be able to be back on TV and watching me do what he was doing for so many years. I would imagine that's a dream come true for him too, because I'm sure he's seen me at a young age that he felt like I could be doing the same thing.
Now, there's a piece of advice your dad gave you about spares and strikes that kind of made me smile when I heard it. Can you share his wisdom with our audience?
Yeah, my father always taught me that strikes are for show and spares make the dough. And pretty much, plain and simple, make your spares if you want to compete at a high level.
Has he offered any other advice to you throughout the years that has been helpful?
The other advice he's given me is to have fun. And believe me, I do plenty of that. My dad was always known as, kind of the partier type. He always would have a drink with the fans or whatnot afterwards, or hang out. And I tend to do the same. I like to hang out with the people. I meet new people every week, every stop, and make new friendships. And so that's what keeps me, loving bowling and traveling so much, is, meeting the new people, the new relationships that are built, and just having fun, whenever I'm not bowling. And while I am bowling, I'm trying to have as much fun as possible.
Since you're in your prime right now, who would win a game of bowling if you played your dad in his prime?
That is a very good question. I don't believe I've been asked that with us both in our prime. Being when he was in his prime, how the lane conditions are and the ball technology back then to now, I think if I bowled on what he did back in the 80s, I would have no chance. And he might have a little bit of a chance if we bowled on the conditions nowadays, but I still would have to take myself, because I got a little more rev rate and a little extra power and some extra help with the pin carry, but he definitely had his tricks back in the day.
So I was really thrilled a few years back when the Olympic Committee was considering making bowling an Olympic sport, but then they disappointed us a few months later, telling us that it did not make the cut for 2020. So if you were given the chance, how would you have made the case for bowling to be included?
I feel like with bowling, it should be an Olympic sport, because the amount of talent and just athletic ability it takes to compete at the highest level in this sport is just as hard as some of the other sports. And I believe, we don't quite show that enough as a sport, like the 40 games of bowling that we go through to make the TV show. And then all you get to see is us bowling, 1 or 2 games on TV. Oh, that's not very hard, but I think that we need to somehow portray the hardships that we go through and the amount of work that we go through to make it to the top level, and just express that this isn't just a fun activity that you can go do with your friends and family and drink beer and have a good time. Like, we're professional athletes, just like a football player. Yeah, we don't have contact sport, but just everything that it requires to be at the top level of the sport, I feel like is very deserving to be an Olympic sport. And the country would be very, very honored to, whoever was to represent the United States in the Olympics. I think it would actually make more of an interesting sport than maybe some of the others that were selected.
I think it's worth highlighting as well what you just said, that they see the last game or two, which when I was even reading about the World Cup, I only read a lot about the finals. I did not know there was 40 games leading up to being in that moment for you. That's something worth highlighting. Your consistency has to be spot on to get that far.
Yeah, and that's just something that bowling just hasn't quite done yet. I know one of our events coming up this year, they're going to have all of the qualifying rounds televised. I guess it's something up in Portland, Maine, but I just feel like as a whole, bowling needs to portray the road to the show more than the actual show, and really let the fans know and everybody know what we go through, because it's quite grueling bowling 40 games in 5 days against the best in the world, having to think about ball choices, lane transition, this and that, and this and that, and keep your emotions in check for the whole time too. It's, I believe, very deserving of a professional athlete. We are professional athletes, and so I feel like it's very deserving that people know what we go through.
Like most sports, bowling is one where people sometimes tend to have a natural ability. They pick up skills quickly. But what was the hardest skill for you to master?
The hardest skill for me has definitely been speed control. Growing up, I was always a kid that threw it very, very hard. And that's part of the reason why I've seen so much success the last 2 years on tour, is because I've learned to slow my ball speed down and really let the ball read the lane. And, that's one of the biggest things in the game is speed control, really being able to just control the lane. And, I'm still working on it day in and day out, because there's some days that I'm throwing it too hard. I mean, last week in Texas, I was throwing it too hard the first 3 games and had to make a big speed adjustment and was able to make a run and make the cut. So, it's not always spot on, but, the quicker I can figure out what's wrong and make that adjustment, the better.
Now, like I mentioned in the start of the interview, my cousin's son, Troy, is about 10 years old. He wants to be a professional bowler like you. So what advice do you have for the younger generation of bowlers coming up?
Advice I would give the younger generation is, to have fun with it, because I remember as a kid, I would get so upset, anytime I wouldn't strike or this or that, or I bowl a bad game. And now that I'm getting older, you just take the bad games with the good games, roll with the punches. And, at a young age, you have to be having fun at it. Don't take it too serious. Enjoy the time with your friends or family, whatever it is that you're bowling. And, grow as you're growing up. If you continue to just have fun with it, it's going to come a lot easier to you trying to become a professional than, if you're taking it so serious and every bad game is like the end of the world, which I was guilty of it as a kid. And every now and then it still happens now, but I think that's the biggest thing, is to have fun with it.
Excellent advice. Now, before we get to some fun questions, I have kind of a curiosity question for you. In various tournaments or competitions, sometimes you bowl with a partner. Now, are you choosing that partner? Is it chosen for you by the PBA? How does that work?
Well, we're actually here in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and we're bowling the Mark Roth Marshall Holman doubles. And this event, we are able to select our partner. The PBA runs a few doubles events a year, but then Team USA, we had the medal, like the doubles medal qualifying and whatnot, where they selected our partner. But in the PBA, they allow us to select our own partner. And, my partner is Jesper Svensson, and nobody's getting a hold of him. We won the doubles a few years ago, and I hooked him for 25 years. We'll see how long that lasts. We're on year 3 now.
Okay. It's a long contract, but I'm sure he'll own up to his end of the bargain. So, Kyle, on Fancounters, we love hearing about our guests' experience with their fans. So if you think back on those moments where you've encountered fans, do any of them stick out as memorable or things you'll never forget?
It's kind of a tough question, being that I bowl so much and so often. I'm constantly, meeting people in the bowling center. And anytime I meet someone that, wants an autograph or a picture, anything like that, it's always special to me, because without fans, we don't have bowling. And that's something else that my father taught me. So the least I can do is, take a picture, sign an autograph. It's always special whenever I see kids or adults that have my jerseys, like my jersey designs through High Five. That's always, really, really good feeling knowing that, not only are they my fan, but, they like my jerseys. They want to be like me. If I had to have like a memorable moment, have to be Halloween. I've had a few people dress up as me for Halloween, with the afro,
the big
and the
afro.
wild clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there, that really brings a smile on my face. And, it's a pretty neat thing that I'm able to be dressed up as. Like, you really can't dress up as Walter Ray or Jason Belmonte. So it's kind of cool that people dress up as me for Halloween. And I just really enjoy, meeting all the fans that I do. It really keeps me happy and keeps me bowling, because, I know that I'm making their day, and, without them, we don't have the sport. So it all works in full circle.
Do you have any kind of weird or creepy encounters with a fan that you just kind of left you leaving? What was that all about?
I might have had a few fans in the past that might want to get a little too close to me, but I just keep a smile on my face, trying to just, I guess, politely get out of the situation.
Are there handlers that help you get out?
Quicker than later, but
yeah.
No, I mean, it's not like that. We kind of sometimes if you get stuck in the lion's den, with maybe a weird group of people, or it happens at times, but just kind of politely enjoy the situation and then excuse myself. But for the most part, everybody's very nice, very friendly, and it's all a good time.
So there's a piece of personal information on your PBA profile that when and I'm sure that this is maybe not updated because I don't see how you would have time for this right now, but did you really manage a Wendy's restaurant?
Yes, I was actually a manager at Wendy's for 7 years. It was my first job at 16. I moved up whenever I was 18 years old to a shift manager, and I stayed a manager till April of 2016. So so I had 2 full years, 2017, 2018, where I was just a professional bowler, and that was probably the best decision I had ever made. Granted, I was able to fully focus on my game. I really didn't have to worry about my work schedule, getting up super early all the time, and having more time to practice, take care of my body, and travel, and not be stressed to get home Sunday night at midnight to get to work at 7 a.m.
Ouch.
But I was the Frosty King on tour for quite a while.
What were some of your biggest challenges managing a fast food restaurant?
To me, it really wasn't quite difficult. I feel like the people that made their job difficult there is because they didn't want to work. They were lazy or whatnot. Like, if you do your job and you follow the procedures, everything was pretty easy. And Wendy's was very, they worked very well with me. I was actually able to pretty much make my schedule. Like, hey, I need this week off. I'm only going to be here Monday, Tuesday. They graciously granted me everything that I needed, but that came with me doing my job very well and, running the store at a top level. And to me, I thank them for everything, because it really taught me a lot of things growing up and helped me with my people skills and everything. And, that relates right over to bowling. Meeting people in the restaurant all the time, and now meeting people in the bowling center. It all kind of, again, it goes full circle. And whenever I look back at it, I really learned a lot more than I felt like I might not have been at the time.
Have you ever had the misfortune of having to let someone go and deal with that side of things?
No, luckily as a shift manager, I was not in charge of firing people.
Oh, okay.
So that I did not have to deal with that.
Kyle, a few weeks ago, we celebrated the beginning of a brand new year. So we always like to hear, do you have any resolutions for 2019?
I really didn't set a resolution for the whole year for me. But one thing I have done is it's really just trying to be more healthy. Actually, so far this year, I've cut out bread, trying not to drink as much soda, trying not to have as much fun after bowling is over. Mm-hmm. But just really trying to stay healthy in 2019. To really give it 100% on tour when it comes to the full circle, bowling side of it, fitness side of it, mental side of it. So just in all, I'm just trying to be a better person mentally, physically, and be a healthier me, because this is probably the biggest year we have in a long time on the PBA Tour, and so I want to try and make the best of it.
I would imagine eating healthy on the road has to be really difficult. I would assume they set up some sort of catering, but even that might not be the healthiest options. How do you circle around all that?
Yeah, that can be quite difficult. I'm finding it kind of hard to do right now, but we don't really have the catering side of it too often. That comes with the events that we're at, if they decide they would like to do that.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes you have to bite the bullet and spend a little more money on some healthier food. But in the end, it'll all pay off.
Now, we talked about your encounters with fans. Have you ever been starstruck? Have you met a celebrity where, that was impressive to you?
I've met some football players, going to the game. I've been to some Carolina Panthers games, and I actually did a charity bowling event with the Panthers a few years back. And honestly, I haven't been starstruck just because I see us all, we're all people, and mm-hmm. And it's really, really awesome to meet these people and to hear stories like, bowling Mookie Betts. I bowled a tournament with him right before the new year, and I've met him before, but he's just like the rest of us. He's chill, he's calm, he's just a normal person. And now I do have to say I'll be participating in the Chris Paul event coming up, and I might be a little starstruck depending on who's there for that event, but.
Now, do you get autographs at these things, or do you really play it low-key?
Well, I'm going to be getting autographs at the Chris Paul, because that's kind of our time, the bowlers. Hey, I need some autographs. hopefully they ask for our autograph as well. Cause
exactly.
That'll be the cool part is, if Chris Paul asked me for my autograph. So that's what we're hoping for.
I hope so too. Our listeners love to hear about what TV shows or streaming habits our guests have. So if we looked at your DVR right now, I know you're not at home, but do you have favorite programs that you either try to catch or that you're missing right now?
Well, I'm not a huge TV show guy. SportsCenter, ESPN is probably always on my TV at home. But I am actually hooked on Manifest right now.
Yes.
Show on NBC.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually, before we did the interview, I was catching up on the episode from the other night. And so I'm really hooked on that show right now. But for the most part, I'm a big sports guy. I'm watching ESPN a lot, watching the different sports that come on there. And typical guy. I like my sports.
So this question probably answers itself. When you're not bowling in your free time, do you play other sports? What else do you like to do in your free time?
Yeah, I've actually picked up golf. That's kind of like the sport that all the bowlers play. I have a lot of fun at it. I probably party a little too much whenever I golf, but because I am probably the worst golfer on the PBA Tour right now. But
that might hurt your chances of getting better if you're partying too much.
Yeah, but I have a lot of fun doing that. And like I said, I'm big into the gym, really trying to take care of my body. So that's another thing that I try to do quite often when I'm not bowling. And if not, then, darts is my other thing. If there's darts anywhere, sign me up. Like that's my bar game, or just, taking it easy at the bowling center if they have a dartboard, just hanging out playing some darts.
You mentioned High Five jerseys before. Can you tell us a little bit about that replica jersey line where fans can get apparel that has been worn by you?
Yes, High Five is actually a sponsor of mine. I'm a national tour staffer with them, and they've done a really good job for several years of designing my jerseys and pants. And any design that you want, they're always very good at being able to work around it and match it to as close as possible. But highfivegear.com, they sell my replica jerseys. You can design your own, and they're the jersey sponsor for the PBA Tour. So that shows you how good of a job that they're doing.
Awesome. And where can we find you on social media?
My social medias, so I have a Facebook fan page, just Kyle Troup fan page, Instagram as well, Kyle_Troup. And I'm not a Twitter person, unfortunately. I have a Twitter, but I do not tweet.
Okay.
It's the one thing that I haven't gotten into, but maybe we could change that in 2019.
Kyle, thanks so much for joining us today on Fancounters. I really do appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was an honor.
What did you think, Elizabeth? Pretty cool guy.
Yeah, it's, we're in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin does have a pretty big bowling community.
Because it's cold 8 months out of the year, and there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, so we do. There are bowling alleys almost on every corner here in Wisconsin.
And they're going to start doing more bowling on television, like ESPN and stuff, but I do remember here in Milwaukee, at least, we used to have Bowling with the Champs.
Yes, and we had Bowling for Dollars. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was Dialing for Dollars.
Yeah, that's something totally
Yeah. Bowling.
but they would have Bowling Weekly on television, taped here in Milwaukee.
I caught it on TV last night.
No way.
Yes, as I was flipping through the channels, right there was bowling.
I would watch that. Seriously.
Yeah, I had Oliver with me, the 13-year-old. He was going for a Lego movie.
Oh, well, okay. Can't please everybody.
Nope.
All right, guys, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Fancounters Live, donating $20 to get a water bottle at patreon.com/Fancounters, and joining our group, Sharpie Nation, on Facebook.
You can also email us at hello@fancounters.com.
It's that time. We're out of here. Have a great week.
We'll see you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This was a podcast from the PodFix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.